What's up everyone? In today's video, we're going to talk about brakes and then we're going to talk about why you got to take them all back apart. Here you can see the Dynamic Friction Company ceramic pads and the braided stainless steel StopTech brake lines. Anytime you do any work on your brakes, since it's a major safety feature, you want to look at and follow all the correct procedures. These brake lines are just being installed currently for mock-up. They do have a torque specification. You always want to look that up and know what the torque is so that anything doesn't leak in the future. These are high pressure lines. Now I'm going to put on some disc brake quiet onto the rear shims of each pad. This is always a good idea to help keep things as quiet as possible and prevent stuff from sticking when you go to replace your pads later on. You do want to make sure that you don't get any of this stuff on the actual braking surface of the pad itself. I do try to make sure to stay conscious of that here, but if I do get some on, I wipe it off immediately so that I do not forget. Now, with a little help from my son, I'm going to reinstall the calipers to make sure everything fits correctly and nothing needs to be shimmed. This is the first time on this car a loaded caliper has been put on with the rotor. The CPP spindles for the front using the Corvette hubs do have some shims and some adjustability for overall track width. That's what I'm installing here, to make sure that it lines up with the shim installed in between the hub and the spindle. There is another shim that goes on the outside of the rotor like a wheel spacer. This is to ensure it has the same stock track width as a regular Mustang 2 front end. Next, I'm going to work on the placement of the brake hoses themselves. As this brake system is completely built from scratch, I have to try to make sure nothing binds or will get caught in the spring during suspension travel from lock to lock. This front mounting position is what's recommended in the assembly manual for the kit, and it is what I ended up going with. However, I did have to clock the banjo bolt position on the caliper a little bit just to make sure it stayed cleared throughout the full suspension cycle. The rear brake hoses are the same. I just needed to pick a placement that was clear and out of the way for them to mount, so I know also a target to run the hard lines to. This is a little bit different than a normal solid rear end setup, as usually you only have one flexible brake hose that gets to the axle. Then you have hard brake lines that go out to each drum on the rear, or possibly discs. Since this is how this system was designed to use normal braided hoses for each rear caliper, this is the adaptation I had to make. Alright guys, so this is a reason for some of the delays. I am in the process of converting all the brake rotors and the hubs from the 5x4.75 Chevy back to the 5x4.5 Ford bolt pattern using this little jig from Hell's Gate Hot Rods, about 170 bucks. But by doing this, I'm saving $600 on the front wheels and another $200 on the rear wheels to have the same size, just using the different bolt pattern. I did have to remove the rear brakes that I've already put on and shown you earlier in the video and move them back over to the 5x4.5. I also need to remove this bracket and this plate, and I'm gonna take pictures and start doing some Fusion 360 work so that I can make a new one of these plates that also comes down and around and mounts on these. This is for the old parking brake cable, so I can have a new plate here and have a completely separate parking brake caliper. This car is going to be built with electric parking brakes. One of the biggest things I don't like about the Cobras is how the handbrake looks in the car and its placement. So I'm going to build this with a push button plate. Well, thanks for watching. On the next video, I should be able to show you at least the rear wheels and some of the design process for the extra brackets for the electric parking brake I'll be working on. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.